feel the stretch in your side.
Hello, Amazing Ampharos here to talk to you about customs again today. But instead of talking about the whole system of custom moves, today I'm only going to talk to you about the customs of one character in particular. Anyone who's been involved in the online discussion has probably heard that Wii Fit Trainer has an excellent set of custom moves, but you might not be so familiar with what they are or how they play out. So I'd like to explain both the base mechanics of what these custom moves are and the meta implications and how they help make Wii Fit Trainer a far more effective character. Let's start with a brief rundown of all the moves that you need to know about to make your decisions for which custom moves to use. First off, neutral special. Default neutral special is Sun Salutation, and it's a pretty good move. The uncharged version fires a quick long-range projectile that does 5% damage. If you charge it up all the way, it travels further, it becomes much larger, it heals you 1% on use and does 18% to the enemy. Like I said, good move, should remind you of Samus's charge shot. Version 2 is the Enriched Sun Salutation. The uncharged version is slower and weaker than the default and doesn't even go as far, but it is absolutely massive, only doing 3% though. If you charge it up all the way, it doesn't heal you like the default, but it's quicker and more powerful, doing a whole 20% on hit, making it all around usually the preferred custom special for Wii Fit Trainer on neutral. And your final option is the Sweeping Sun Salutation. Sweeping Sun Salutation is the slowest and least powerful of them all, but the full charge heals 2%, and more importantly, the move pierces through targets and drags enemies along. Uncharged usually doesn't do much dragging at all, but if you charge it up all the way, it can drag opponents really far. Now let's move on to the neutral specials. Default neutral special is Header, which fires a projectile that does 9% and can be swatted back at you. It flies at that terrible high and not very useful angle. All around, lousy move you will probably very rarely want to use. Option 2 is the Huge Header. It only does 3% and flies at an even more awkward angle, but it does that. And that is a really huge move that your opponent will have to find some way to deal with if they ever want to get to you. Your third option is the Weighted Header, and it is usually the preferred one. It does 14% damage and flies at this really beautiful low angle that controls all the space you really want to control. On up B, I'm going to keep it really simple. This is Huge Header, the only up B you will ever pick. It summons 3 massive hoops around you that hit all over the place, does 6% per hit. I've seen it hit up to 5 times, meaning you can do up to 30% damage, and yes, it does shred shields if they happen to block it. As a recovery move, it gets incredible horizontal movement, but very little vertical height. However, if you mash B after using it, you can actually rise. My mashing is fairly poor, but if you're one of those people who gets max height from Luigi Cyclone, it's just as good as any other up B for recovery. Better really because of the horizontal movement. The only real downside the move has is that you are forced to rise. There's no way to go down, much like with Meta Knight's awfully similar Mach Tornado. And it has pretty lengthy landing lag, with no clever auto cancel or anything to subvert the lag. So if you think the move sounds like the spammy button to win, you are in for a very rude awakening. But enough of that, let's move to down Bs. First of all, we have our good friend the default. Default Deep Breathing heals 2% and gives Wii Fit Trainer a temporary buff to his damage and knockback. It's a handy move that you'll find a ton more uses for the more advanced you become as a Wii Fit Trainer player. Down B2 Volatile Breathing is a really hilarious move. When you charge it up all the way, it creates an explosion that hits an absolutely huge area around you. Close it does 15%, far it does 8%, and the 15% hitbox is a powerful kill move. The explosion doesn't persist for very long. And however, the slower version of breathing you get after you've used it once isn't as much slowed down with volatile breathing. Also, volatile breathing has a really funny little quirk, and that's that before the red circle appears, you have full super armor, ground or air with this move. And like all breathing variants, you can cancel the breathing at any time before you activate the effect with any defensive option. Shield, spot dodge, roll, or air dodge. So you can just add a little super armor to your game whenever you want to if you brought this custom. The last custom move you have is steady breathing. Steady breathing heals 5% and gives you a temporary, massively increased weight. It is just weight. You are knocked out of any moves you're doing when you're under the effect of steady breathing. But your weight becomes so insane that you are virtually unkillable. The higher power smashes tend to start killing you around 600%, to give you an idea of just how ridiculous it is. However, the drawback is, once you use it once, the slowdown effect is absurdly long.
Now return to your original position.
So it will be a long time before you can practically use it again and get the effect again. Clearly the developers were really worried about this move being spammed. And the fact that you can only use it once in a great while is what kind of limits its utility, and tends to lead most people to picking the default. That's a brief rundown of what the moves do, their advantages, disadvantages, and how commonly you want to pick them. If you wanted the quick and dirty guide to what the moves do and what you should pick, you can stop there. But I'm going to go a little deeper and start talking a bit about the Wii Fit Trainer metagame and why customs make such a difference for this character. It all starts with why Wii Fit Trainer is a generally ineffective and honestly low-tier character without customs. Wii Fit Trainer at first appears to be actually very good. Her attacks have an incredible speed to power ratio. They're quick, they do lots of damage and knockback. Her mobility is honestly really good, and Sun Salutation is a great projectile. She doesn't have recovery problems, she really has it all. Except there's one thing that's missing, and it's actually a critical flaw in her game that just ruins everything. Wii Fit Trainer has what we might call very poor priority. Those who are fighting game savvy are probably familiar with the concept of priority, and also know that it tends to be a phantom. What the word generally means is how likely your attacks are to beat other attacks. In Wii Fit Trainer's case, almost all of her attacks have incredibly poor range and hit in really awkward ways that are really difficult to connect with. The actual hitboxes of the attacks are very seldom very far away from the hittable areas of Wii Fit Trainer's body either. What it all means in practice is that if Wii Fit Trainer goes at an enemy hitting buttons, and the enemy goes at Wii Fit Trainer hitting buttons at about the same time, the enemy's attack will almost always be the one that wins, and Wii Fit Trainers will almost always be the one that loses. This means that the good characters, when fighting against Wii Fit Trainer, tend to play in an incredibly disrespectful way. They don't take seriously the threat of Wii Fit Trainer hitting them. They just challenge everything with their own quick, useful moves, and they'll almost always win. If a Sheik just keeps running up and throwing out forward airs and forward tilts over and over again, you're not going to be able to do anything. She'll just beat everything you do. That style of rushdown in which the enemy just keeps throwing out stuff that beats your moves totally suffocates any attempt at a projectile game as well. And honestly, with this awkward grab, it's not like just sitting on shield trying to grab stuff is going to really be what makes a difference for you. Your only road to winning is just to plain outplay the opponent, and if your only way to win is to be the much better player, then you know you have a low tier character. But that's why customs can change everything. You have the speed to power, the mobility, and the concept of a projectile game already in place. You just need to somehow be able to force the opponent to respect all of that. Right away, Jumbo Hoops does that. These hitboxes hit all around the Wii Fit Trainer, so if your opponent's just running at you hitting buttons and you throw out Jumbo Hoops, you can be pretty much entirely assured that Jumbo Hoops are going to win, which changes everything. Your opponent is forced to respect the threat of jumbo hoops. If they don't, you'll just keep doing this, keep hitting them. You'll do a ton of damage every time you hit, and you'll win pretty quickly. Once your opponent starts playing a little more respectfully, worried about the jumbo hoops, you suddenly have the time and ability to hit with all of these other attacks that, while awkward, do have a really good speed to power ratio. By forcing that respect, you can open up your whole game. Your opponent backs off, trying to exploit the fact that all of your attacks lose a lot of effectiveness at longer ranges. Your projectile game comes into play. Sun Salutation was already a good projectile. Enriched Sun Salutation made it even better. And while default header offered you pretty much no projectile mix-up because the move was frankly terrible, weighted header really lets you open things up. All versions of header have an advanced technique associated with them that is absolutely critical for a Wii Fit Trainer to know. Do a short hop, input header immediately as you start to rise, and mash the B button to headbutt the ball as soon as you can. This will cause you to land with no landing lag. You saw it right there. And what that means in practice is that you can do this. I'm sorry for being bad. And immediately chase after and continue your pressure. If your opponent blocks that header, remember it does 14% because the weighted header is really just incredible. They block that, you run up, you're right in their face, you hit jumbo hoops. I guarantee you're going to break through their shield unless they do some power shielding along the way. Weighted header is a pretty practical move to power shield, but just watch out for that. Likewise, if you aren't a fan of that weighted header, you can always bring the huge. The same auto-cancel technique applies, and you can get behind it really easily and start hitting it toward them in all sorts of crazy and unpredictable ways. No matter which option you choose, you're really improving over default and adding multiple dimensions to your projectile zoning game. It's something that's not just that one gimmick you have to play around, it's an actual game that demands respect. And then of course the breathing variants. While honestly deep breathing is probably the best overall, it just has the most utility. That armor that volatile breathing gives you lets you get out of so much stuff. Think about all the situations in which you're in the air and you don't have time to get an air dodge out before you get hit. For instance, Mario down threw you and went into his patented down throw up tilt up tilt up tilt up tilt combo. If you have even a single frame to act, you can throw out the steady breathing and get your armor. Then, even better, you can immediately cancel when it no longer suits you into that air dodge, or you can land after doing the move and shield. This doesn't become a perfect escape from landing traps. Before the red circle appears, that is, while volatile breathing has its super armor, Wii Fit Trainer stalls in the air a little bit and won't touch down on the ground. But if you use this really low to the ground, you only have a little bit of time with that red circle up, and it can be much less time than the inevitable vulnerability you have when you air dodge low to the ground. You get that nasty air dodge landing lag that everyone always has to worry about. So, all around, volatile breathing can really up your defensive game, at the cost of the power-ups the other versions can provide. And if you want to leverage the other way, while volatile breathing lets you out of the oppressive offensive pressure, you might be worried about the defensive characters like Rosalina and Villager, who could just shut down your projectile game. Except that's where sweeping Sun Salutation comes in. Since this move pierces, this will go right through a Luma or a tree or a fire hydrant. And if you actually connect with the fully charged one of these, while it does way less damage and isn't a kill move, it can create some horrible situations for your opponent. Look at her drug all the way over there. And then imagine right after that she tried to recover. She didn't there, obviously, because I'm one man with 4 controllers. If she did, she would have immediately run into this up B, which would have just pushed her off. Since Jumbo Hoops hits all around you, it's a pretty incredible edge guarding move in general. Almost impossible to avoid taking some damage if the Wii Fit Trainer is smart, and very likely an outright gimping move. Sweeping Sun Salutation sets up for this nearly perfectly. So if you're against any character that really wants that projectile war with you and is just going to keep stuffing your other projectiles, this move will make him think again. So you put it all together, and you have a character whose core moveset is really improved, getting a multi-dimensional projectile game instead of a one-dimensional one, and a move that can actually beat stuff. It's not spammable because of the landing lag. And note that unlike some other up Bs that with custom moves might become a little spammable, platforms won't let you just cancel this freely. You're gonna get the landing lag if you land on stage. And since it's forced to rise, going to the ledge isn't a perfect solution either. There is a gap where you can get hit. But to focus on the positive again, just having this move that beats other moves. This is character definingly good. It removes your greatest weakness. You can use your projectiles more effectively because you actually have moves that help you instead of header, which flies at that terrible, awkward angle. Seriously, what were they thinking with this move? Your recovery isn't really hurt either. You can recover from all the way over here. If you mash the B button, you can still recover from high. And seriously, this move has massive ledge snap range, which I did an excellent job of not demonstrating there.
Stand straight and try to keep your hips aligned.
Or there, it's right around the head. But you really shouldn't be dying off stage just because you brought this move. You'll be fine.
Return to your original position.
So, the end of the day, and the verdict of the story is that Wii Fit Trainer has a complete game. You can now address every sort of threat in the game, and you have an actual answer. You have multiple dimensions to your gameplay. You have, in short, viability. Give Wii Fit Trainer a whirl with customs on, and you'll discover a character that can actually take you places. One of the characters who I feel truly defined by these moves more than anyone else, in a way that's deep and interesting for all players involved. I still honestly don't think Wii Fit Trainer catapults to the very top. There's too much competition. But Wii Fit Trainer certainly catapults up high enough where a smart player could pick this character and see some wins. I hope to be able to do something similar to this for some more characters. I'm sorry if I rambled a bit. This is kind of an off-the-cuff thing, and it's not getting a lot of editing. But I just wanted people to know about what these moves can do and spread a little more knowledge. Have a nice day.